Well, we met at a Bible study.
Yeah.
Like 2 years before we actually started hanging out and dating. Hadn't been there in, like I said, 2 years-ish. And then one day Reggie, the leader of the Bible study, who I hadn't seen in probably almost a year, showed up in my work office to visit Eric Klein, and we reconnected. He invited me back to the Bible study, and then we saw each other. What did you think the first time that I came back?
Well, you had added me on Twitter, and so I told my sister that, and she was like, oh, who's he, and like, what does he do? And she was like, what do you think about him? And then it was kind of weird because you showed up to Bible study that next week.
Yeah, it was a good thing I did add you on Twitter because we ended up talking a little bit through there before I actually saw you, I think, right?
Yeah.
So, Hunger Games, the movie came out, and both you and I had read the book. And so, we both tweeted about that, responded to each other on Twitter. And so I think it kind of broke the ice for then when we saw each other in real life. It's like we kind of had something to go on. Like we kind of already had sort of established a new friendship again.
Because our first conversation at Bible study was about Hunger Games.
Yeah, and then...
And Calvinism.
Yeah, and then predestination.
We did a lot of stuff in the Bible study group. So, like, we would watch movies a lot, and so we were, like, hanging out within the group a lot, felt like.
Yeah, so getting to know each other more, and then, I don't know, I feel like I kind of sensed that there could be, like, you and I could grow into something kind of soon, but still, I think both of us were kind of taking our time getting to know each other before we really decided to take any big steps. So we spent a long time hanging out in groups, and we started talking on the phone probably about 2 months after I came back, you think?
Yeah.
So then once we started talking on the phone and getting to know each other more there, it was kind of crazy because on the phone it'd be like we had one relationship and like you were one way, and then in public, like around our Bible study group or other friends, it was like totally different, Des, because you were...
Because I was not sure where you were at or what things were going on, and I wanted to be really careful, so I didn't want anyone like asking me about it or assuming that we were something if we weren't.
Do you feel like you were like going above and beyond trying to act differently to me, or not trying to act friendly to me?
Yeah, maybe. Well, I was just trying not to show any like special interest.
Yeah, I could sense that.
Yeah.
So timeline goes like this. I got back to the Bible study in March. We started talking more in groups. Started talking, I think actually we started talking on the phone more a little bit before the beginning of June, and then the beginning of June I went on a family vacation to Washington, D.C. And while I was there, Dad sent me a text message about a wedding that she was at. And so then I feel like I didn't text you back. I think I actually called you back. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so what ended up happening is on this 4 or 5 day trip that I was on, every night I would call her and we'd kind of catch up on our days because she was away someplace out of town, I was out of town, and I think that was the first time we really started talking extensively, and then it never ended. Like, now we just still talk for hours. So so since I was talking to you on the phone until super late at night, did you pretty much know he's got to be interested?
Yeah, I kind of guessed. But then you didn't say anything for a really long time.
Right. Because, so this was all happening in June and then into July. July is like crazy month for you, or it was especially that first year, because you first had a week of local ministry, and then you went to a camp in South Dakota, and then you and I both went to a camp in northern Minnesota. And so I knew at this point that I wanted to ask you out on a date, but I didn't want to ask you out and then have us be doing 3 weeks, well, you would be doing 3 weeks of ministry and I would be doing the last week with you, and I just felt like, let's get past all that and then we could move towards maybe some sort of dating relationship. I don't know, I felt weird about starting that when there was going to be like a 3-week ministry time. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
That's nice of you.
Yeah.
That's smart.
Yeah. So then our week of camp was going to come to an end. We had our 3-hour trip back home to the Twin Cities, and we were in separate cars, but then when we got back to Reggie's house, I was gonna give you a ride home. I'm giving her a ride home, and all along trying to figure out how am I gonna start this conversation of wanting to ask her out on a first date. I kind of thought as soon as you get in the car, there was more to it than that. Like I was going to possibly ask you in the parking lot of the camp that we were just leaving, but then you ended up riding home in a different car. And then I thought, okay, as soon as I'm in the car and we're gonna drive you back to your place, I'll ask you out on our date. But then you actually first were like, how was camp? Because this was the first time that you and I had a chance to talk one-on-one after it was all over. So I couldn't really be like, well, wait, before I tell you that, first, can I ask you out? Well, maybe I could have done that, but I didn't. So then we talked the whole way home. I'm just kind of freaking out like, how am I gonna do this? So as soon as we got out of your car and started unloading your stuff, do you remember how I did it?
Yeah, you said, so I really like getting to know you, and I would like to take you on a date sometime.
Yeah. And you said yes. Actually, I can't remember if you said yes exactly. I feel like it was more like, I don't know exactly how you said it.
Like, yeah, that would be good or something.
Yeah. Okay, so that happened on August 4th, and our first date was on August 10th. So if you're watching this video at our wedding, tomorrow is gonna be our 1-year date anniversary. So we went on our first date. Great date, I thought. How'd you feel?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
It was
alright.
fun.
Yeah, I thought it was good. Give it a rating on 1 to 5. 5 being the best. I say 5. What do you say?
I really liked it.
Like, give it a number.
I don't know, like a 4?
4? What could have brought it up to a 5?
Well, I've never been on a better date, but I was so nervous.
So you've never been on a better date, but it was only a 4?
I was nervous.
Okay, that makes sense. Do you want to talk about what we actually did on our first date? Well, wait, before you do, it was a secret. You had no idea what was going to actually happen.
We planned it.
So I planned the whole thing. Wanted to keep it a surprise. The only thing I did ask you is what type of food you liked. And then I picked a place, and then I think I warned you to wear shoes that were comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay, now take it from there.
So we went down to an Italian restaurant that was really good.
And we ended up going back there again on Valentine's Day, which was nice.
Yeah. And then we went to Lake Calhoun and we walked around twice.
So it's like one time around is 3 miles. So we did 6 miles walking and talking for our first date.
Yeah, and that was really fun. And my favorite part was when it was dark and there was a guy in the park, and then you moved me to the other side of you.
Yeah, there was kind of
so I'd be safe.
There was kind of a shady looking guy coming towards us on her side, and so I thought, I'm sure he's fine, but I kind of like switched sort of spots with me. That way I could protect her. Honestly, if he would have attacked, we would have been in trouble, but
yeah.
I was just trying to make it look good.
But that was my favorite part.
Okay.
And then we went to Sebastian Joe's.
Sebastian Joe's ice cream. That was good.
Yeah, it was really good.
And we went there for some of our engagement photos.
Yeah.
We've only been there twice, huh? That's delicious. We should go again.
Have we only been there twice?
I think so. First date, awesome. I said a 5, she said a 4. And I'm thinking this is going great. We'd already still been continuing to hang out in groups, but I was still planning on doing this, next date. And so we made some plans, and then something came up, and we had to change the first plan. So then we made new second plans, and then something came up, and we had to change those. And so when it was all said and done, we just kept on actually hanging out in groups, and we didn't go on another date, you and me. Like officially, I mean, we hung out one-on-one, but like I'm taking you out on a date 2 months later. But by that time, we had already decided, yeah, we're interested in being official.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell that story?
So you were working super late for something, like a fair or something, and then you went to Perkins, and I met you at Perkins afterwards, and we had already kind of discussed like if we want to be official before, and I wasn't sure.
You weren't ready yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, so at Perkins I was kind of just doing like a check, like, alright, so I'm still interested. How are things with you? And you're like, oh, yeah, I'm ready to be official. So I was like, really?
Yeah, so then you asked me to be your girlfriend.
Could you tell I was really surprised that you were ready?
Yeah, you were surprised.
Yeah, I was like shocked. Like I thought that conversation was going to be more weird, and it ended up being like, oh, you're my girlfriend.
Yeah.
So that was pretty good.
Yeah.
So that was October 9th.
Yeah.
So, again, if you're watching this on our wedding, that is
10 months.
our 10-month. So we've been officially dating for 10 months.
Yeah. We dated and dated and dated.
Yeah, and after we became official, it was clear sailing from there. We were hanging out more and more, hanging out with each other's families. I think we both realized really early on that this was for real, and we started talking about marriage probably the next month in November. Like around Thanksgiving, we started talking about, yeah, this could be moving there. So by December, it's like certain. Like we're already reading pre-engagement books, like 101 questions asked before you get engaged.
Yeah.
And there's another book we read, Things I Wish I'd Known Before I Got Married. And so December then, it was like, this is definitely happening. So you told me not to propose around Christmas.
Yeah.
Why not?
I don't know, I didn't want you to propose on another holiday.
That makes sense. So, but I knew by Christmas this is for sure happening. So as soon as January came around, I started doing the preparations for engagement. All right, then it was engagement time. Well, more like preparation for the engagement. So you wanted it to be a surprise. That was one of the main things.
Yeah.
And so that was probably the most nerve-wracking aspect is I didn't exactly have a plan for a long time. I just knew it had to be a surprise. And so I started taking steps to be ready for the engagement earlier than I actually knew what I would do. And so, and then all along, I'm kind of, when you and I are talking, I'm trying to downplay the fact that I'm preparing, right? Because
Yeah.
you thought we are getting engaged, but it's probably still a month or so away, right?
Yeah, because like you were gonna use my grandma's diamond,
Yeah.
and I didn't think that you had talked to my parents at all.
Right, and so here's kind of the timeline. After Christmas came, I knew, okay, we're gonna get engaged soon. January, I think it was 7th. If January 7th was a Monday in 2013, then that's the day that I went ring shopping for the first time. So I brought Luke and Danae. Danae knew all about what Des would want from the ring, and so she super helped just being able for me to know, yes, this is good. No, this is bad. So on this first night, then we went to 3 different stores. And by the third one, maybe by the second one, I really knew what you would want. Like I knew a look. So we did first 2, then we were gonna kind of call it a night because the next one was kind of far away. But we decided we have time, let's just do it now. You were busy with something, so we were going at a time when you wouldn't know where we were. And the third store, we walked in. At this point, I think Luke had to go someplace, so it was just Danae and me. Walked in, checked the rings, and then I saw one instantly that I was like, this is for sure the ring. There was another one that was similar to it, and I was kind of going back and forth, but there was one specifically that I was certain this had to be the ring. I didn't want to buy it though the first night because I felt like I need to sleep on this a little bit, not just rush into it. But the more we were there, the more I realized, no, this has to happen. So I purchased it first night. Like I only went ring shopping one evening and left with this ring. But the bad part about that is I had always thought I would actually ask for your parents' blessing before I actually purchased the ring. So then I was like, oh boy, this has to happen. So that wasn't on Monday. So then Wednesday, I call your mom to see if I can set up a time to come talk with your dad and her. You must have still been at work. I think it was right after I was off of work, but you were still working. So again, you wouldn't necessarily know that I was visiting. I get there, I'm super nervous. Like that drive to see them was so nerve-wracking. Like I actually at one point thought this feeling is gonna be worse than actually proposing, but that was not true. Like I was more nervous about getting ready to propose to you than I was about getting ready to ask your parents, but it was so strong for your parents. Like I thought this might be actually worse than the nervousness I'm gonna feel before I propose. So I get there, we do some small talk, which is weird because this is the first time I've ever been there without you. And everybody knows why I'm there. Eventually I just cut to the chase and I said, I've really grown to love your daughter. I know for sure that she's the one I want to spend the rest of my life with. And I was wondering if I could have your blessing. And they gave it to me. Meanwhile, what were you thinking? I'd already started taking steps, but you thought I had not taken steps. So were you getting nervous? Because we'd already talked about engagement, we did have a sort of a timeline and we knew
We wanted to get married in the summer.
we wanted to get married in the summer because since you teach, it has to happen during the summer when you have time off. So were you getting nervous that I was going to take too long?
Yeah, kinda. Well, cause Wasn't it the Friday before you proposed? And I was like, you know, like, I don't want to put any pressure on you, so I'm not, like, this isn't to pressure you, but just so you know, like, it takes time to plan, so if we don't propose soon, then we can't get married this summer.
Yeah, and so I knew, I've got the ring, I've got the plan, and I just have to play dumb, kind of.
Yeah,
but
you did a good job.
Okay, so then I had to have a surprise plan, and I was clueless on what to do. I was really lost. I eventually realized, well, this is how bad it got. I think I told you this. It got so bad that this sounds horrible. Like, I tried to figure it out myself, and then finally I decided I should pray about this. Do you know this part of the story? I was freaking out one night when I knew I probably want to propose this coming weekend, but I don't have any plan. And so I was like, God, I don't know what to do. Give me an idea. And then I was reminded that you are super into fireworks.
Yeah.
But it was the middle of January, so there were no fireworks shows. And so I thought, what if I find a guy who will do like a private fireworks show for me? So then the next day I started Googling private fireworks shows, which ends up being not just expensive, although it was. That's not the biggest deal. The biggest deal is I needed land to shoot them off of, which I didn't own, and a permit from the city. So land and a permit. Yeah. So it was crazy. But what I did find is a guy to make more of like a ground fireworks show. And so ground fireworks don't shoot in the air, they spray, which is kind of weird. Do you like those kind?
Yeah.
Good, because that's what I ended up buying for you. And so I found this guy, so we got the fireworks plan, but I still don't know how I'm gonna get you to my family's backyard where the fireworks are gonna shoot off of.
Yeah.
Why don't you take part of it from here?
So you had a plan, and then it was the weekend that it was gonna happen, and you were really nervous.
Yeah. So I did.
And we were hanging out, and I asked you a couple times if you were okay.
Yeah, the night before. So I ended up proposing on a Sunday. The Saturday before I proposed was a birthday party for you and Jackie, your roommate.
Yeah.
And so I was there, just like lying on the floor, sick with nervousness. But I just had to pretend like I was just sick, regular style.
Yeah.
So did you have any clue that I was nervous?
No, I knew you weren't okay and like you were acting weird, so I asked you like if you're okay, but I didn't know why. And I didn't think you'd done anything, so I didn't think that it could be that.
So the real plan was this. Every Sunday night, Des and Danae and Roseanne go out for chai, and they pick up chai and they drive around to all different places and talk and catch up for the week. So I brought them in on it, and the idea was going to be that I would tell Des that I'm going to be at my family's home packing up stuff because they had recently sold the house. Meanwhile, she's out doing chai, and her mom was going to take her someplace nearby where I grew up. So then casually, Danae would bring up that they want to go see the house that I grew up in, and then Des was going to say, Matt's there right now. So then they would suggest stopping by, and it would all come together like that. So why don't you take it from when you pull up, I greet you, and we start walking towards the back. Because I had said that we had to go through the back garage door to get up into the house because the front door had like construction stuff happening, which was not true, but I had to lie a little bit to get you into the backyard where I had set everything up.
Yeah. So I was with you and you were walking really fast, and I looked back and my family was like probably like 20 feet behind us, and I was like, why are you going so fast? Like, why are we ditching my family?
No, you actually said, my family's like 20 feet behind us.
Yeah. You can't ditch them. So he was like, come on, and you like pulled me through the door, and then we walked in the backyard. I was like, oh, this is a nice backyard, and I saw Christmas lights and the trees and that kind of thing, and I didn't really think anything of it because like it was January, so I just thought you had left them up since December.
Yeah, and when I had imagined this moment, I had thought as soon as we walk back, the Christmas lights will be in the trees, there'll be flowers on the ground, rose petals. She'll know instantly. But instead, she was like, oh, nice backyard. And then we walked in, and I'm like waiting for her to realize this is happening. And you didn't for 40
like
seconds.
And then we kept walking, and I like noticed that I was stepping on the rose petals.
Stepping on frozen rose petals.
And they were crunchy.
Yeah, because it was really cold. It was literally...
And I was like, oh. And then you were already down on your knee.
Yeah, it was 0 degrees outside on this. It was January 20th. As soon as I realized she's just starting to recognize what's happening, I immediately got on my knee and proposed. And then what are you actually thinking?
I was like, I think I said, oh my gosh, you're doing this. So I was really surprised and really, yeah, just in shock.
So we hug, we're happy, we're engaged, and just when she thinks it's over, guess what next?
Then you took me over to the bench.
I walked you to a bench in the backyard, and Ryan, my best man, best friend, lights the fuse to these fireworks I'd purchased. He runs off out of the way, and we sit through a 2 to 3 minute fireworks show, and it was so cold.
Yeah.
I mean, the fireworks were fun, and I think it was a good element to the engagement. What did you?
It was 0.
It was 0 degrees outside, so tell me what you thought about the
I
fireworks.
was shivering.
I had blankets prepared for you,
I love the fireworks. I love them a lot.
but
I was just cold.
then we prayed together, which was great.
Yeah, it was really good.
So we prayed together, and we went inside, and we were greeted by our family, and engaged.
We celebrated.
Okay, so what should we tell now? I think this is pretty much the end of the story. So we talked about how we met. We talked about how we got engaged. What's next?
Now we're getting married.
Now we're getting married, and what's next for the future for us?
I don't know.
Well, we're gonna live in St. Anthony Village. We're living in some apartments off of County Road D. You'll keep working at
Spring Lake Park.
Spring Lake Park High School as
A teacher.
math teacher, and I'll keep working at
Northwestern.
the University of Northwestern as an admission counselor, and that's the next thing coming up for us. So living in an apartment, working at the same jobs. You're still in grad school. I just finished.
Some grad school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a lot of work ahead of you.
Yeah.
Okay, how are we gonna end this?
I love you.
I love you too. But how should we end the video for everybody that's watching? Thanks. Is that it? That's the end? All right, everybody. Well, that's all from here. I'm Matt Anderson.
Des.
Anderson, by the time they're watching this. Des Anderson, and we are signing off. Can you do that?
No,
I'll show you how it goes.
I don't want to.
I'm Matt Anderson.
Des.
Okay, I'll do it again. I'm Matt Anderson, and this is
Des.
Anderson. You have to say your last name because that's like the most important part of this right now. Okay, here, let's do it one more time. Okay, and then we'll do signing off. Okay, ready? Well, that's all from here. I'm Matt Anderson, and I, and then you say and I'm. Okay, I messed it up that time. All right, here we go. Well, that's all from here. I'm Matt Anderson,
I'm Des Anderson.
and we are signing off. You can do it.
I don't want to.
Just put your hand up like this.
I don't wanna.
Signing off.
I don't want to.
It's so easy. Yep. Signing off. Yeah, there's a lot of gnats. You think that they'll be able to see them?
Yeah.
So we just ignore them.
Just go. Gnats, gnats, gnats. No, you gotta kill them. So they smell the blood and they won't want to come over.
Ooh, I actually got one.
Oh, I'll get killed.
Yeah, that's a good idea. These gnats are nuts.
Gnats. I think I ate one.
Why are they bothering us?
They hate us.
I don't really mind as long as they don't show up on the screen, which I think they will, because they're a flurry of... That's okay, here we go. Okay, so that happened on August 4th, and our first date was on August 10th. So if you're watching this video at our wedding, it's tomorrow is going to be our 1-year date anniversary.
Yeah.
Shoot. Tomorrow is going to be our 1-year date anniversary. Oh, we can do better than that. Tomorrow is going to be our 1-year date anniversary. I want some pizza. Are you hungry?